Well, we like to have a chat to Dr Uwe from Neutrog to give us the lowdown on fertilising, especially for roses. Yes, it's the flower festival time in autumn for roses. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I think autumn roses are better than spring. But there's a couple of tips and tricks. Let's find out from Dr Uwe. Good morning.
Oh, hi, Graham. Yes, I guess most people would be aware that roses flower several times a year, but as you mentioned, the most spectacular floral displays are really in autumn, which is why so many of the rose societies have their shows in April and in May. So now is really the time to consider how to best achieve this. And one critical aspect is obviously to make sure that the flowers which are set survive until they bloom. Now, we've spoken about things like potassium before and how important that nutrient is for the control of water loss in plants, but the other thing it does, it really helps to strengthen the plant and the flowers. So what I mean by that is that the flowers are less likely to fall off your plant, for example, due to things like wind or rain, or simply fall because the plant's too weak to maintain them. And it's really disappointing when you have these beautiful buds and then they never open or they just fall off the plant.
Yeah, that can be really disappointing. So how do you ensure that this doesn't happen?
Well, I had a bit of a nosy around and had a look at the notes from the Rose Society in New South Wales. So it's always good to get the information from the experts, no doubt. So it turns out that about 40 days after you trim your roses, you then get that full show of flowers. So many people may have already done this, but now is the time to trim so that by late April, you get all those flowers. And surprisingly enough, that really matches perfectly with, say, for example, the Macarthur Rose Show from the Rose Society in New South Wales, and also the show in Queensland, which is in early May. So what you then do is it's the ideal time to fertilise. So you need that fertiliser which is high in potassium to ensure you have plenty of that nutrients as the buds develop. An ideal fertiliser is obviously Sudden Impact for Roses by Neutrog, which was developed and tested in conjunction with these rose societies, including the one in New South Wales, and is really endorsed now by rose societies across the entire country.
Yeah, their logos, or icons, are on the side of the pack. They're all of them there. Now, can you use Sudden Impact for Roses on other flowering plants?
As a rule, you can use it on all flowering plants. The effect of the nutrients in Sudden Impact for Roses is the same regardless of whether you use it on roses or pretty much any flowering plant, with the exception of some of the phosphate-sensitive natives. In a pinch, you can even use it on your acid-loving plants. So Sudden Impact for Roses is basically a balanced, organic-based fertiliser. It means it contains all the trace elements required for your plant, but it also contains those major nutrients. And we add a little bit of iron and manganese because that gives you those really deep green leaves. And you really only need 100 grams per square metre, so it goes a fair way if you buy a bucket of it.
Yeah, very economic. So Sudden Impact for Roses, listeners, although designed for and tested on roses and supported by all the rose societies, it's a great option for all of your flowering plants. And now is the time to apply the Sudden Impact for Roses to ensure you get this the best autumn display. Or for that matter, winter blooms in your garden later in the season. Sudden Impact for Roses is available from Bunnings, other hardware outlets, and of course, all good garden centres. Thank you for that, Uwe.
No worries, Graham. Have a fantastic week.
You too. Okay, as you heard from Uwe, you've been talking to the experts. Give your roses a bit of a summer prune, feed them up with the Sudden Impact for Roses, and stand back.